In the year 2003, a gang of thieves targeted a vault that contained the largest collection of diamonds in the world. This vault was located in a small area in Belgium, which was known as the Diamond Capital. Even though this place was very small in size, the surprising thing was that nearly 80% of the world's diamonds passed through here. To secure this entire area, a special kind of police force was created, which was called the Diamond Police. The vault in which diamonds worth of billions of dollars were kept was considered one of the most complex security vaults in the world. It had a total of 10 layers of security. But there was one man who decided that he would cross all these layers, and he did it. He chose 4 more people like himself for this job. Each person had some special skill. They planned and prepared for 2 years. After that, they executed the mission and stole diamonds worth about $100 million. Even today, this theft is considered the biggest diamond theft in history. This entire incident happened in the city of Antwerp, Belgium, a city that world knew by the name of Diamond Capital. Inside this city was a small area that was called the Diamond Area. Just imagine, from this small area, every year diamonds worth about $35 billion passed through. This area was completely a high security zone. To monitor this place, the Belgian government created a special police department called the Diamond Police. Inside this area, there was a big building which was considered the most important place in the entire diamond area. In front of this building, there was only one road, and automatic barriers were installed on both ends of the road so that no vehicle could enter without permission. The atmosphere here was so secure that people walked calmly while trying their suitcase to their hands. Only those people could come and go in this area who were either diamond dealers or big buyers. The name of this main building was the Antwerp World Diamond Center. This was the building that was considered the most important place in the entire area. The offices of the world's biggest diamond companies were inside this building. Here, each company had its own separate office. If any employee of a company wanted to enter this building, then it was necessary for them to have an electronic card. When that card was scanned, the computer recorded that person's name and the entry time. When that person went out, the same process was repeated. From outside, the building was fully under the monitoring of CCTV cameras. Every corner was in the camera's view, and this was only about the outside. Inside as well, dozens of cameras were installed that recorded every moment. Security guards kept watching these cameras at all times so that any disturbance could be caught immediately. But the real secret was not inside the building, it was hidden below. On the second underground floor of this building, meaning 2 floors below the ground, there was the vault which at that time was considered the world's biggest and most secure diamond vault. Diamonds were not just thrown anywhere. Each diamond was kept in a special locker. These lockers were registered in the names of diamond merchants. Each locker had its own unique key. Any merchant would store their goods here and remain tension-free that their goods were completely safe. Because at that time this vault was considered unbreakable, meaning getting into it was thought to be impossible. The security of this vault was made of 10 layers and was called a masterpiece of engineering. The first layer was its heavy iron door. Its weight was about 3 tons and its thickness about 30 centimeters. Engineers believed that if someone wanted to break this door, they would have to drill continuously for at least 12 hours with a high-powered drill machine. But in that much time, the alarm was guaranteed to ring, because vibration sensors were installed under the door. As soon as any movement happened, the alarm would activate immediately. Besides this, there was also a code lock on the door, in which a 4-part code had to be entered. Each part could be from 0 to 99, meaning millions of combinations. Guessing the code was almost impossible. And if the code was not correct, the locker key would not even go inside the door. Yes, this vault also had a special key. About 30 centimeters long and just as heavy, the door opened only when both the code and the key were exactly correct. But the security did not end here. In the upper corner of the door, a magnetic sensor was also installed. If the door opened and the 2 metal plates attached to it separate from each other, the alarm would ring automatically, meaning even if someone had both the correct code and the key, still, as soon as the door opened, the alarm would activate by itself. But the matter was not limited to this. All this was only the security of the iron door. The real dangers were hidden inside the vault. Inside the vault, on the ceiling, a light sensor was installed. On the wall, there was a device installed which contained both heat sensors and motion sensors, meaning even if someone managed to enter inside, the alarm still did not ring. These sensors would detect their presence. Apart from this, the cameras were also installed inside the wall, and their live monitoring was done by security guards. Now imagine, even if someone crossed all these layers of security, they still could not directly reach the diamonds because all the diamonds were kept in separate lockers, and each locker had a strong lock installed on it which could not be opened easily. So the question is, who was that person? Who could even think of robbing this vault despite such a heavy security? His name was Leonardo Notarbartolo. He was a resident of Italy. Leonardo's biggest specialty was trapping people in his conversations. His face, his style, and his words all seemed so trustworthy that anyone in front of him could be deceived. No one could say by looking at him that he could be a thief. He made the other person feel so relaxed and trusting that people lowered their guards in front of him. And the moment someone became careless, Leonardo made his move. He once said, "I was born to become a thief." And he did not say this as a joke, because when he was just 19 years old, he committed his first theft. And it was not an ordinary theft. He started stealing expensive sports cars. This is where his beginning happened. After a few years, he left cars and became interested in stealing diamonds because he felt there was way more money in it, more cleanliness and less risk. Diamonds are light, small, easy to hide, and most importantly, extremely valuable. Along with that, tracking them was also not that easy. From the beginning of diamond theft, Leonardo developed a special attraction towards jewelry. He quickly understood that he had a special talent in this field. He could create very beautiful and intricate jewelry designs. Because of this, he decided to open some jewelry shops, and he started enjoying this work. Gradually, he built a network, which included both legal and illegal people. And with the help of this network, he was able to sell stolen diamonds in the black market. But one day, Leonardo's own jewelry shop was robbed, and in this incident, he suffered a heavy loss. He became very disappointed. Only one question kept revolving in his mind: how could he recover this loss? From here, his thinking took a new direction. Perhaps this was the moment when the idea of robbing Belgium's World Diamond Center came to his mind. Because if he could rob this center, he would not only get money, but his name would also be written in history as a great thief. This thought became his biggest motivation, and this passion prepared him completely to move forward. But Leonardo was not a man who would just walk into somewhere casually. He focused on years of planning, every small piece of information and every movement. So first, he took a big risky step. He himself went into the Antwerp World Diamond Center, and there he said that he was a diamond dealer and wanted to rent an office inside the building. And truthfully speaking, he was not even lying. He really was a diamond trader, and he did own jewelry shops. The building manager, who was a woman, did not suspect him at all. Without asking many questions, she rented Leonardo an office. Now, Leonardo had an electronic access card through which he could enter the building whenever he wanted. Whether it was day or night, no one could stop him. This all happened in the year 2000, that is, 3 years before the big theft. Now just imagine, Leonardo spent the full 3 years planning and preparing for this operation, and once he became an official tenant of the building, he received another major advantage. He could now rent a safe deposit box inside the vault. The moment Leonardo rented a box, he gained full rights to access the vault. Anyone who rented a safe there was allowed to go to the underground floor. They only had to show their electronic card to the guard monitoring the cameras, and the guard would let them enter without question. The main door of this large vault usually remained open during office working hours, but inside it there was another small door, called the day door. Tenants who had rented safe boxes used this day door to enter and exit. Its purpose was that the heavy main door would not need to be opened repeatedly. So throughout the day, the big door remained open. and tenants moved through the smaller door. Anyone who had a safe box could go directly inside the vault, open their box with their key, and do whatever they wanted. At the same time, CCTV cameras inside monitored them. An armed security guard was always present outside the vault. But every tenant was given full privacy, meaning no one accompanied them inside. Whenever Leonardo entered the vault, he did not just go to his own box. Every time, he carefully inspected the internal security systems. He had prepared a special bag, inside which a tiny hidden camera was installed. The camera was fitted near the zipper, in such a way that no one would suspect it. This camera recorded the inside of the vault each time, every corner, every sensor, every camera, and all security devices. Leonardo made many such visits, and every time he returned with new information. But he did not take any action until he was completely certain that he had every necessary detail. He started building his team only after his entire planning was crystal clear. This phase began in the summer of 2002, about 8 months before the theft. To build his team, Leonardo returned to his old city Turin, a famous city in Italy. This city was called the City of Thieves because many notorious thieves and criminal gang members had originated from here. These people did not work together regularly like an organized gang, but whenever a big operation appeared that required different skills, they would come together and form a team. Each member had a special talent, and they helped each other based on those skills. The first person Leonardo contacted was named Fernando Finito, who was also known by the codename The Master. As the name suggests, he was extremely powerful. So his job was every task that required muscle power or physical force. Leonardo did not have to convince him much. As soon as he told him that the diamonds worth billions of dollars were inside the vault, he immediately agreed. But to cross such heavy security, strength alone was not enough. They needed intelligence, technical skills, and precise planning. Here entered the team's second member, Elio Denorio, known as the Genius. His job was to hack electronic systems. He had learned this skill through his profession. In reality, he owned a company that manufactured and supplied security and surveillance equipment. That is why he had deep knowledge of electronics, and he was perfect for this mission. Now, Leonardo had acquired two crucial skills, strength and technical hacking. But there were still some security layers for which they had no solution yet. Because of this, Leonardo continued visiting Antwerp at least once every month. The vault opened every morning at 7 a.m., but since Leonardo was an office tenant, he could enter the building anytime. Many times he arrived before 7 and waited for the guards to open the vault. He would make excuses, like saying he had urgent work or needed to take something from his box, so he could watch the vault opening process himself. Although guards never showed him the code, he did see the special 30-centimeter key used to open the vault. Now Leonardo had to create an exact copy of that key, and this became the most difficult task of the mission. At this point, the fourth member entered, the King of Keys. Very little was known about him, neither his real name nor his face. He was a master key-making expert. It was only known that he could replicate any complex key perfectly. At this stage of planning, the team needed the complete blueprint of the building, so they could determine the safest route to the vault. Leonardo once again went to the building manager. He casually said that for now he had rented only one office, but his company was growing rapidly and he might need more office space in future. Then he politely asked if she could provide him the building's floor plan so he could plan ahead. Surprisingly, the manager not only gave him the floor plan, but handed over the complete building blueprints. These blueprints even included the vault section. Yes, they did not contain security system details, but they showed all rooms, corridors, and routes. and this information proved more valuable than gold for Leonardo and his team. This was actually a human security error caused because Leonardo appeared extremely professional and trustworthy. With the full building plan in the hand, the team discovered a secret route through which they could enter the building via the garage without passing the main security checkpoint. There was a dedicated garage entrance on the side street. From there, they could bypass the automatic road barriers entirely. However, the garage doors also had security systems, which would need to be handled later. At this stage, Leonardo realized they needed one more member to handle driving and the getaway. For this role, he selected a man he fully trusted, someone who had worked with him before. His name was Pietro, codename the Fast One. Now the team had 5 members in total, and each had a specific responsibility. During this time, Leonardo continued visiting the building. His aim was to reach areas where tenants were normally not allowed. One such place was the guards' room, but Leonardo's calm and friendly personality worked here as well. Gradually, he built friendly relations with the guards. They began seeing him as normal, trustworthy man. On some occasions, Leonardo even reached the surveillance room. The surveillance room, which was completely restricted for tenants. Through these visits, he learned the guards' routines, camera monitoring patterns, and shift timings. One very important thing that he noticed that guards only monitored cameras during office hours, that is when the vault remained open. But once the vault closed, the office hours ended, no one actively monitored the cameras. The guards trusted their security layers so much that they believed alarms would trigger automatically if anyone tried to break in. When the entire team reviewed the plan, they all agreed on one thing. The heist had to be completed in a single night, because they would have only 5 hours. If it took longer, the risk of getting caught would rise sharply. Now the question was, how to bypass all security systems in such little time. This is where the genius's real role began. The plan was that 5 days before the robbery night, the genius would enter the building alone and disable certain systems in advance. He used Leonardo's electronic access card and disguised himself as a worker. When he reached the building, he told the night shift guards that he had come for work in Leonardo's office. He showed the card and also brought a fake work order. Because building rules allowed office tenants to enter any time, the guards did not suspect him. However, his real target was not the office. He went directly toward the vault floor. Since it was night, the guards were not monitoring cameras. He had enough and uninterrupted time. First, he covered the surveillance cameras inside the vault so his movements would not be recorded. Then, he installed a tiny hidden camera above the vault door. He had designed this camera himself for a specific purpose. The plan was simple. When guards opened the vault next morning, the camera would record the code entry and the key usage. This footage would allow the King of Keys to replicate the vault key. Copying a key just from a video sounds insane, but he trusted his skill completely. Next task: disable the magnetic sensor. This sensor had 2 metal plates. If they separated when the door opened, the alarm would trigger. The genius solved this cleverly. He placed a specially shaped aluminum plate over both magnetic pieces. So even when screws were removed, the magnetic connection stayed intact, meaning the system still believed the door was closed. The alarm never triggered. After completing this setup, he reassembled everything so guards would notice nothing unusual. Now, he was confident. He was confident that on robbery night, they could separate this plate safely. Next mission: identify the garage door frequency. The garage opened via a specific signal frequency, and detecting that frequency was difficult. Using his electronic expertise, he tracked that exact frequency that opened the door. With this, all his assigned tasks were now complete. He had captured code footage, disabled the magnetic alarm, and unlocked the garage access. Next step involved internal vault sensors: light, heat, and motion detection. Inside the vault, a light sensor hung from the ceiling, and on the wall there was a device containing heat and motion sensors. The team purchased similar devices from the market so they could experiment on them. After several trials, they discovered that if the device was covered with a thick cardboard box, its detection waves could not pass through. It makes it effectively inactive. However, there was one big problem. If the sensor detected movement before they could cover it, the alarm would trigger instantly. So they needed a method to weaken the sensor beforehand. This responsibility came to Leonardo because he was the only one officially allowed inside the vault. This meant the operation could only happen during working hours when the vault was open. But during that time, guards actively monitored cameras. This became the most delicate part of the mission. On the morning of 14 February 2003, one day before the heist, Leonardo entered the building as usual. He scanned his card and walked toward the vault. Everything looked routine, but hidden under his sleeve was a hair fixative spray. When he reached his locker, a sensor device was nearby. Pretending to stretch casually, he discreetly sprayed the sensor. His movements looked completely natural, but one guard monitoring the camera felt something unusual. He came down to inspect. As the guard approached, Leonardo pretended to fix his hair. His acting was so convincing that the guard suspected nothing. Leonardo walked away safely. The spray had weakened the sensor. It was not fully disabled, but now it could be covered later without triggering alarms. All preparations were now complete. The night before the heist, the entire gang gathered at Leonardo's apartment. They ate together, reviewed tools, timing, and roles. Everyone was fully prepared. The day I had waited months for had finally arrived. Saturday, 15th February 2003. The night of the heist. Pietro, the getaway driver, drove the team to the location. They avoided the main road and took the side route, leading to the garage entrance. Using the captured frequency, they opened the garage door. They were now inside the building, but the real path was still ahead. Several security doors stood between them and the vault. However, the gang had already prepared for this. They had purchased identical branded locks used throughout the building. The King of Keys created master keys that could open most of these doors. One by one, they unlocked each door. They crossed every floor, every corridor, and finally reached the vault room. Now the real operation began. First, they covered the vault cameras. Then they handled the magnetic alarm sensor. Using the aluminum plate setup, they removed both magnetic pieces together. No alarm triggered. The first security layer had fallen. Next came entering the code. Using hidden camera footage, they entered the correction combination. The vault code unlocked successfully. Now came the key. The replica key was inserted, but it failed to turn. Months of planning hung by a thread, but Leonardo remained calm. He knew the real key was stored in a nearby safe. The team broke the safe and retrieved the original key. This security flaw proved critical. They turned off the vault lights to avoid triggering light sensors. Using night vision or low light methods, they proceeded inside. They opened the main vault door and the inner day door. The monster entered first, carefully covering ceiling sensor with the tape. Next, they neutralized motion and heat sensors. Hairspray had already weakened them. Using an extendable stick, they placed a cardboard box over the sensor. They taped it securely. All sensor layers were now disabled. Now only one task remained: opening the deposit boxes. There were 190 lockers inside. Leonardo understood their design deeply. He had studied their structure during visits. He knew their weak plastic support points. Using custom tools, they broke the locking tension. One by one, lockers opened. Inside were diamonds, gold coins, cash. They filled their bags rapidly. The estimated loot reached $100 million. They opened around 100 boxes, leaving the rest for mobility reasons. Before leaving, they stole surveillance tapes. They erased all visual evidence. The gang escaped via the garage. The operation lasted 5 hours 30 minutes. They reached Leonardo's apartment, and the scene there was something else. On the table were bags filled with the loot, the shine of diamonds, bundles of cash, and the piles of gold and jewelry. Everyone who had just returned after carrying out the biggest heist in the history was standing there. Their faces showed the glow of victory, but along with it there was also a faint fear. They now fully understood that what they had done would echo around the world, and the story would be told for years. Now that diamonds, gold, cash, and jewelry were in their hands, they started counting the loot. Slowly, it was divided, and each member received his share. Before leaving the apartment, the gang made sure they would not leave behind any clue that could help the police reach them. They knew that one day the police would definitely come to this flat, so they began cleaning everything. They paid the most attention to the trash because that was the one thing that could contain their fingerprints and DNA. They searched every corner of the apartment and checked even the smallest thing. No proof, no trace, nothing was left behind. Now the next step was to get out of Belgium. They were confident that the police would soon launch a massive search operation, and if they were caught, they would be produced in court. But they believed they had a plan. They thought there was no extradition treaty between Belgium and Italy. That meant even if Belgian police identified them, Italy would not be forced to hand them back. At least that's what they have believed. On Sunday, 16 February 2003, the day after the theft, the gang decided that everyone should leave separately. Each person would return to Italy by a different route, so there would be no suspicion. But two people stayed together: Leonardo, the operations leader, and Pietro, known as the fast one. They loaded their share of the loot into the car. Along with the loot, they also put the garbage they had collected from the apartment into the car. The intention was to dispose of it somewhere along the way. The night journey began, but then Pietro started looking uneasy. Again and again he looked behind, peering into the rearview mirror as if someone was following them. Suddenly, he began arguing with Leonardo. "We should throw this trash away right now." Leonardo tried to calm him. "Don't panic. We just need to find a suitable place where we can dump it without raising suspicion." But Pietro's anxiety had crossed its limit. He kept insisting, "Throw it now. Do it quickly." Leonardo began to feel that if this tension continued, things could get much worse. After some time, they reached a deserted road near a forest. Leonardo stopped the car and said, "You stay in the car, I'll go inside." Leonardo went into the forest and decided to dump the garbage there. The trash contained many items: tools, food wrappers, gloves, and other things used during planning and execution. He threw it all in one place and returned to the car. They drove away thinking they had solved the problem, but this decision would later become their biggest mistake. The next morning, a local retired man was walking in that area. He noticed the trash bag and found it suspicious. When he looked inside, he saw items that clearly did not belong there: burned papers, odd equipment, and unusual materials. He immediately informed the police. The police reached the spot and secured the trash as evidence. This one bag became a critical turning point in the case. From the trash, investigators found several things: small diamond fragments, pieces of tape, packaging, and other materials. They also found a videotape and some documents. The police realized that this was connected to the Antwerp diamond vault robbery. They began tracking every clue inside the trash. Some items had linked to the Antwerp World Diamond Center building. As the investigation progressed, the police started connecting the dots and slowly narrowed the suspects. The garbage dump location, the type of evidence, and the materials all pointed towards people who had inside knowledge of the building and vault security. Soon the police focused on one key suspect, Leonardo Notarbartolo. They found evidence that connected back to his office inside the building. The investigation team reviewed access records, tenant details, and security logs. Leonardo had rented an office and had legitimate access to the premises, which made him the perfect cover. Once his name surfaced, the police began surveillance and background checks. They coordinated information between departments and prepared for arrests. Even though the vault security had been defeated, the criminals were now being trapped by basic investigative work, small mistake, paper trails, and physical evidence. When police moved closer, they collected more proof, documents, recordings, and other materials recovered from the various locations. They also worked to identify the other members of the gang. Some leads pointed to the electronic expert, the genius, while others pointed to the driver, the fast one, and strongman, the monster. The police pieced together how the team must have entered to the garage and how they disabled sensors and cameras. The more they reconstructed the crime, the clearer it became that the heist was the result of long planning and specialized skills, not a random theft. Eventually, arrests were made. Leonardo was taken into custody and interrogated. Investigators continued searching for the missing diamonds and the rest of the loot, but most of it had already disappeared. As the case moved into court, many details became public. How the gang bypassed 10 layers of security, how they used inside access, and how a single bag of dumped trash helped police find them. Despite the scale of theft, legal proceedings and sentencing did not match the public's expectations because the stolen items were difficult to recover and proved individually. During the trial phase, questions were raised about the vault security and the negligence that allowed such an operation to succeed. The fact that the building manager handed over blueprints and the tenants had repeated access to sensitive areas was seen as a huge lapse. Another major weakness was that the original vault key was stored nearby that could be reached easily. The gang's method showed that even the most advanced security can fail if human errors exist. Meanwhile, the diamonds themselves, once moved into the black market, became almost impossible to trace. Over time, most of the stolen diamonds were never recovered. Leonardo and some of his associates received prison sentences, but the punishment was limited. The identity of the King of Keys remained unclear, and according to many accounts, he was never conclusively caught. The case became famous worldwide as a lesson in both criminal planning and security failure. Even today, when people discuss the great diamond robberies, the Antwerp World Diamond Center heist is mentioned at the top. As the year passed, the gang members gradually served their time and were released. The public continued to wonder where the diamonds went and how the criminals managed to hide such an enormous fortune. Stories circulated that they started living a life far beyond the reach of ordinary people, but concrete information was rare. Investigators and journalists occasionally tried to track them, yet most street trails had gone cold. The missing diamonds became a permanent mystery of the case. At one point, a photograph of Leonardo surfaced, but after that no one knew where he and his partners were, what they were doing, or under what names they were living. The assumption is that they concealed everything so cleanly that finding them became nearly impossible. That is why the Antwerp heist remains not only a story of spectacular crime, but also a story of disappearance, loot, vanishing, and people blending back into the world. By 2009, all the known gang members had came out of prison. After that, they likely started a new life with that wealth far from the eyes of the public. The story continues to shock people because of its scale, its planning, and the way the loot stayed mostly hidden. It also raises the question, if so many layers of security can be bypassed once, what does secure really mean? With this true story comes to an end, of a theft that shocked the world. If you found this case surprising, like it and tell us in the comments what you think. And for more such true and astonishing crime stories, subscribe to the channel.